Oh boy, how am I going to film this one? Today as we have a look at Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Jetfire. In case you haven't noticed, Jetfire is a rather large SR-71 Blackbird aircraft. And yeah, I wasn't underestimating the size. This thing does not even fit entirely into my frame. The fact is I'm going to have to film the vehicle mode like this. So yeah, this vehicle is ungodly huge. I mean, dear lord. I think it's one of the largest leader class vehicles ever. Not to mention the fact it's actually insanely well detailed, in addition to obviously Jetfire logo there. Down here we can actually see there's some details on the tail fins. There's actually a squirrel, or whatever that's worth. Decepticon logo with 1972, which might mean something. Scratched out Decepticon logos, since remember folks, he was a Decepticon. And he was also a Seeker, which takes on different meaning in, well, this movie series. You can see here under the cockpit actually says Lieutenant Colonel Brawley, and there's even a very small and legible warning about the ejection seats, basically saying take them out before you dismantle it, because hey, those things could go off and kill a person. And they have been known to, unfortunately. So yeah, mega huge vehicle mode. That's about all I can say, but there is one last little gimmick. You see back here, if you push this back panel back here, you get a jet whoosh sound, which is kind of cool. In addition to the fact that, that's right folks, he is armed with a very large and actual missile-firing Vulcan cannon, which you can't see very well because, again, this thing is ungodly huge. I mean, my lord. You know what, I'm going to get to transforming that, which is unfortunately very complex, so it'll be largely off screen, but still. Transformed, here we have Old Man Jetfire himself. Yes. So remember, he is a bit feeble since he is quite incredibly old. You can see here he's kind of walking slouched over a bit. To the point he's even using his aircraft landing gear as a cane, which is actually kind of clever, but also kind of sad. Jetfire does have an interesting electronic gimmick in this mode. If you pull down this trigger on his chest.
Jetfire's my name. Jetfire's my name.
That's right, these things, move aside. He says, Jetfire's me name in his nice Scottish accent. And his head lights up, which is not kind of like the head was in the movie, so I think this kind of was designed before the movie. Fortunately, articulation for Jetfire isn't that spectacular. He does have ratcheted shoulder and elbow joints, as well as a hand rotation, which is great. And now he does have very interestingly designed feet, which can move and ratchet, but his poses are basically limited by, well, how he's designed, and there's no real head articulation. I can wivel it side to side a little bit, which is unfortunate, but still, it's imposing, but not very posable. Now, obviously, one of Jetfire's main draws is you can actually combine him with Leader Class Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime, since it happened in the movie. Well, Jetfire died and his parts were thrown onto Optimus, who used them for all of 2 minutes and then kind of just throw them aside. Regardless, it can happen, and thus, in the mode that kind of doesn't really have a name, though according to Takara, it's called the Jet-Powered Optimus. So we'll just go with that. Why? Because it's awesome, that's why. Optimus is essentially wearing Jetfire as a backpack. As you can see behind him, well, really that's exactly what's happening. You can see Jetfire's large boosters on either side. The front parts of the plane going down on Optimus's, shoulder spikes, not really saying much. You can even see Jetfire's head hanging out back there behind some panels. And we can even see Prime is actually strapped in via some nice rubbery connectors, which is interesting. In addition, Prime is kind of armed up the teeth as he's wielding both Jetfire's Vulcan cannon, clipped onto this arm, and a gun formed out of the rear part of the jet's fuselage, and the landing gear. It's actually quite cool. Obviously, neither are entirely accurate to the movie, but in the end, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's an Optimus that can fly. I will also note that this is not how the instructions tell you to organize the feet. The way the instructions tell you are horribly gimped and really give you absolutely no articulation, not to mention they look horrible. This way, not only is it more screen accurate, it actually, looks a lot better and actually gives you slightly better articulation, which isn't saying much. So yeah, Jetfire attaching to Prime doesn't so much improve his articulation as it does severely hinder it, as it basically removes any and all leg articulation. However, it does leave the head and the arm articulation, which is somewhat good. You win some, you lose some. In the end, what's the final verdict on Revenge of the Fallen leader Jetfire? Well, his vehicle mode is utterly massive and greatly detailed, so I really highly love that. His robot mode could be better. It's not entirely accurate, but it gets across the point that he's an old Scottish, Transformer. And combining with Optimus, once again, while not entirely screen accurate, still looks bucket loads of awesome. If you can get Jetfire, especially if you already have a Revenge of the Fallen Optimus, I would highly recommend getting them and combining them, since it's all kinds of sweet. Mind you, Optimus would get a standalone jetpack in the next movie, but let's not talk about that now. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, folks. Transformers Month rolls on. See ya.